All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome. It's a Friday again. Nicola, tell us who is on the show with us today on our LangFest lunch.
Bonjour à tous. Hi everyone. Goedenavond, Ellen. So
That's right.
today we have the pleasure of speaking with Ellen de Visser, who is a Dutch polyglot that some of you might have already met or seen or heard about because she gave a talks at several language events before. So this year is the gathering, twice the polyglot conference as well. She studied linguistics, is big about using linguistics to help language learning, and is also a traveler, very active in language community as well. We'll briefly mention that there's a summit going on that she's involved in. But today, let's talk a little bit about you. So, just tell us a little bit about what got you into this world that we're all in now, and world of languages, this community, and maybe what you like to talk about during events.
Sure. Okay. It was actually quite random how I got into this whole like language learning community. So I started studying German and French, and I just moved to Berlin. And in the summer before doing that, I did this online course about like introduction into linguistics. And there was also this Facebook group with this whole community of people who were doing that same course. They were interested in languages and linguistics, and I don't know, I wrote some Facebook posts in this group, and like other people commented, and then I found out that there were people in Berlin as well. And if you move into a new city, it's always nice to get to know some people if you're really alone. So yeah, then I got in touch with these people, and it came out that they're also
So
into language learning
you
and
said you moved
polyglots.
to Berlin, but from where?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
From Holland, because I'm Dutch.
There you
So
go. All right.
yes, so just after secondary school. Yeah, and I met up with these people, and they were telling me about this language event that was going on in Berlin, and came out it was the polyglot gathering. So someone just invited me to go, and I was like, okay, sounds good. Like I really like language learning,
And
so
this was how many years ago?
um, um, three and a half already.
I guess it was when Polyglot Gathering was still in Berlin, right? Because you went
Exactly.
to one of the
There
Berlin
you go.
editions. So yeah, that was it. So it has to be at least 3 years ago. I think the last edition they did at Berlin was what, 2016? Yeah, because they came to Bratislava in 17.
Exactly, yeah. And from then I just stayed. Like I went to the next event, and they were telling me about the conference and then other events. So that's how I kind of got into all
O-
of this.
Okay, Ellen, I'm gonna stop you just 1 second. We do have folks watching us right now, amongst which we
Sure.
have Oldie. Welcome,
Ah,
Ollie. He's watching you, and he's watching you so closely that he's saying he cannot hear you. Now, I don't know if everybody can hear Nicola, uh, but at least we know that he can't hear you. I don't know if that's
I,
because your voice
Strange.
is low because we hear you very
I'm
well.
actually
I hear both of you very clearly.
I'm not sure if he's like
Why?
joking, because he told me beforehand that he would like troll.
Okay, now that's not funny. He's interrupting our show now. That means okay. Well, why don't
Okay.
you continue a little bit and let me ask Ollie if if it's a joke or not.
Not joking, he says. Okay.
Such a great person to organize a conference
Uh,
with. Like,
So this is a problem. Then I need to figure out whether what is going on that you can't be heard. Um, maybe
Okay,
because
I just checked on my Facebook feed. I can hear you. There's a little bit of a delay, so I just heard the last sentence that you said. Maybe the sound levels are off depending on on each
yeah,
participant.
we're all
So
unmuted, so definitely we can talk. So maybe it's
okay,
an only specific phenomenon.
maybe it is. Let's
Let's
well, while you try to fix it, I guess we can we can continue a little bit. So so you went to Polyglot Gathering in Berlin, and that was how it all started.
Exactly. And then the next language event I went to was the Polyglot conference in Thessaloniki, and I didn't really thought about it. I just applied to speak, and then all of a sudden they told me that that was a nice idea that I wanted to talk about, and then I did my first presentation, and that's also a little bit how I got into this whole public speaking thing, and which I still really enjoy. Um, yeah.
So that first talk was about what?
It was about like comparing Dutch and German.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah,
So
how
comparing Dutch and German, just one thing that I hear a lot is that if you speak Dutch, you basically speak German. Is this true? It's like if you speak Spanish, you basically speak Portuguese, and that I don't think is so true. So
No, but let actually, yeah. So tell us a little bit about how, which aspects he compared, and how I guess that related to language acquisition. I think I have a little bit of an idea, but I think you'll put it in a much better way. So
hmm yeah, so a lot of people tell me when they meet me, oh, you're Dutch. Oh, you Dutch, isn't it like a mixture between German and English? And I'm like, no. um, and basically between like German, English, Dutch, they're all quite similar. They are all from the same Germanic language family, and they have a lot of things in common with grammar and how you pronounce things. But of course, it's still like seen as a different language, just like French and Spanish and Italian. And for example, between German and Dutch, sentence structure is really important. In German, it's all very strict set of rules how you need to do, but in Dutch it's a little bit more like free, and there are like some verbs at the end of the sentence that you have to turn around basically in order to have like Dutch style sentence or a German style sentence. Also, there are a lot of false friends. I don't know if
yeah.
you're familiar with that
yeah,
concept.
I think every language learner has a lot of experience with that.
Well, maybe give us an example
Yeah.
for those of us who are not so linguistically inclined.
For example, I think.
These are friends who stab you in the back, right? When you
False friends.
in German and in Dutch, I would not be able to give any examples, but there's
Yeah.
definitely some in between Japanese and English or Spanish and English.
There's many between English and French.
Well, give us one.
Well, yeah. So a classic one that some people sometimes miss is actuellement and actually, which
Mm-hmm.
means totally different things. So actuellement means currently, uh, not in the present time, and actually means in fact. So it's completely different meaning. While obviously they come from the same root, Romance root, actually through Norman French, because English is full of Norman French words. But that's just an example of a common word that has a different meaning, even though you could think that it has the same meaning. So people tend to use it wrong. And between languages that share a lot of vocabulary, obviously, yes, these things tend to happen all the time because meanings drift differently in different languages. So
So there you go.
that's an
False
example.
friends. I think the
These
official
are the
term
false
is
friends. Yeah,
false
there are many.
cognates.
Yeah. So exactly. Uh, so yeah. So it's interesting that actually, Alan, did you also talk about in that talk? You also talk about I mean, technically speaking, the second Germanic consonant shift, the sound shifts that are in German and Dutch that are regular. For instance, Wasser, Water, Schip, Schiff, or many of those words. Is that something that you talk about? Because I'm personally interested in intercomprehension between Romance languages, and obviously one way to do that is to learn which sounds or which consonant clusters from Latin gave this or that in different languages, and then you can recognize words much more easily. So is that something that you also talk about?
Exactly. So at the Polyglot conference in Reykjavik, I gave a talk about exactly what you just said.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, there were these sound shifts between like in German and also like and the other languages wasn't like that. So if you learn about these sound shifts, then you can know how like basically kind of construct the words in the other language, and it's very useful if you maybe like read a text or yeah, then you know how to pronounce things easier, or just learning languages becomes easier if you have knowledge about that.
I know that for me, for reading, 'cause I did a little bit of that with Spanish and Portuguese. So Spanish, which I'm fluent in now, and Portuguese, which I'm not really fluent in, although I can read fairly easily. Is that once I learned, many of the historical phonological features of different languages, including French, and I was aware of it, I was able to sort of predict, how a word would look like. And at the beginning, oftentimes I would encounter an unknown word, and I'd try to think of it in my head. Okay, how would it look like? And then oftentimes, more often than not, actually, it would work. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah, it's also the same with like learning like suffixes in other languages. So like pre and for example French pré or something like that you learn this translation so that you can also like you just said like kind of predict how words is gonna look like in another language.
Yeah, I think it's an approach that is often, I feel, missed in learning material, because if you know what if you know what the language of the learner is, and oftentimes you do, because the material is written in a particular language, so it targets speakers of that language. I mean, oftentimes you can often just give a bunch of tricks to help with understanding, and you can go very fast with that passive knowledge, even though the active knowledge that might come a lot later. But I think it's, from what I understand, it's sort of what Ben Lewis was trying to do with his hacking series. I think it's the same kind of sort of mindset that you're trying to. All the guesswork that you can do, you should try to give to the student as soon as possible, so they can get into. Whoop.
Sorry about that. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. So anyway, that's something I find very interesting. All these tricks, all these correspondence.
Well, now that I've interrupted you, I might as well interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that we do have other folks logging on as we speak. We have Edouard Makhul. We also have our good friend Svein Olestad, and he's written something that I can't read. Perhaps Nicolas can read it. I don't know if Alan's.
Well, there's one word that I'm not sure of. The other ones I can understand. So actually, I'm not.
Is that Dutch?
It's
for one thing.
It's a Canadian language, which
so it's probably Norwegian.
It's actually either Danish or.
No, but Svein is Norwegian, so.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's why. So he's Norwegian, and I think it goes like, "Hi, Ellen.
I think I know.
I will have." And I don't know what öl is.
Does it say, give me back the money I lent you?
No. He says he wants to drink beer.
Öl is beer. Okay, that's why. Okay, by the way, I think this is a perfect example of, if you know some cognates, because I've sort of I have a little bit of basic knowledge about Scandinavian languages, and if you know the cognates, so obviously you know the frequent words, so jeg is I, will is actually the same auxiliary as the English will, ha is have, and is an article, öl, which I didn't know of, is beer, med, very easy if you know Dutch or German, with, they, which is you, or dich in German and Dutch. So here you go. You just deciphered a Norwegian message using cognates.
You're gonna work in the CIA pretty soon.
Well, no, I'm just a language nerd. That's what I do.
Oh,
And Ed,
honestly, I wouldn't have known, but like that's the one phrase he taught me, or like the one phrase of all the
Oh,
phrases that I remember that he taught
okay.
me.
No, but it's just I remember at some point I got interested in learning some of the common words and common cognates between uh, Scandinavian languages and English because it's the other Germanic language that I know well. I speak intermediate German, but it's and then from then on, sometimes if I get across if I come across a Scandinavian text in any Scandinavian language because they're very close, except Icelandic because we're conservative, but okay. Uh, yeah, I can actually understand a lot of what I read. So that's yeah, it struck me that it's these methods based on learning the hacks and the cognitive stuff like that. I think they can be effective at least with people like me. I don't know.
Hmm.
well,
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
Edward uh, commented that he's studying Dutch with the French language. So I'm assuming he's a French native speaker learning Dutch. And is there any advantage you as a Dutch who has learned French? Do you think there's some tips that you can give somebody who's French and learning Dutch?
I found it really hard because in Holland you learn French in secondary school, so you start quite early, like 13 maybe. So I don't really finding out my own like French tricks because like you just get a book from school and then you just should learn it at the end,
I see.
like A2 B1. So I find it very hard to yeah to say what are the best tricks to learn French as a Dutch person or to learn Dutch
As a
as
French.
a
Huh.
person. Yeah.
So So maybe we want to switch gears now
Yeah.
to see, Ellen's projects. What do you occupy yourself with these days? What are the things that take up your time? What are you passionate about these days? What do you do other than going around and speaking at various conferences and influencing the millions of people, like I said earlier?
Yeah. So at the moment I'm finishing my studies. I still need to hand in like a few small essays, and then I have a degree in German and French,
I see.
uh, linguistics and literature, which I look very forward to. I look forward to moving on from university and building something for myself. Speaking about that, I am in the process of starting my own translation company. I've been
Wow.
translating for like 3 years, but yeah, I just want to build something for my own because as a freelancer, you can't really scale your own time, and
Hmm.
I really enjoy translating, but I just want to do something new, but still want to stay in this whole language like translation
Hmm.
industry, I would say. So I'm
Nice.
going to start a translation agency which is specialized in Slavic languages, so
Oh,
to begin with Russian and Ukrainian and Belarusian.
Wow.
With freelancers from Belarus for now, and then hopefully add other languages from like Eastern Europe or further, like
yeah.
Georgian or something. So that's what I'm mostly occupied with now. I'm also organizing some networking events here in Berlin for also other young people who want to start a business. And then, of course, the Language Influences Summit together with
That's
Jan
right.
and Ollie. So
With
quite
with our
exciting.
very own Ollie Richards and Jan. But yeah, that's I believe that one is coming up in March, and we talked about this a little bit. We want to actually invite you again with Ollie. He doesn't know. I haven't even talked to him about it, but I'm putting
So
this out there. We can invite Ollie and Jan and see if we can have a session dedicated to that very special event of yours.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, speaking also of your other projects, if I'm not mistaken, you also took a big trip this summer.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, right? You crossed Siberia by train, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Wow. It's a big
Yeah,
traveler.
that was crazy. A lot of people have this Trans-Siberian trip on their bucket list, and I've finally done it. I've wanted to do it for so long as well. So this summer I was in China to begin with.
Okay.
I did being super fun to get my TEFL certificate. Um,
Where was that,
and
in Shanghai or Beijing?
in Dongguan, it was in the south of
Gongguan.
China, so near.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then I went to Shanghai to visit some friends. And then I flew from there to Vladivostok. So I did it the other way around. Like most people start from Moscow and then go to Vladivostok, but I did it the other way around,
Hmm.
which is less touristic. Um, yeah, it was really interesting. Like also because I'm learning Russian for some time now, and I really wanted to improve. Like speaking with lots of native speakers, like immerse in the culture. I did it for a whole month, which was maybe a little bit too long.
Oh,
Also,
what you mean? You took 1 month to go from East China to Moscow?
You're stopping every
yeah,
time, right?
from Vladivostok to St. Petersburg, actually, like
Okay.
I did the whole thing.
Okay.
um, but on my way, like I got fever in Yekaterinburg.
Oh,
I stopped for 1 whole week and spent 1 whole week in my hotel, which wasn't that nice. But so I think 3 weeks if you want to do the Trans-Siberian, that's maybe the right amount of time that you need. Um, and I stopped at some Siberian cities, and then like bigger ones like Novosibirsk, and then moving on to Yekaterinburg, Moscow, and St. Petersburg. I did some couch surfing to get to know like local people and speaking Russian. But also took some time off for myself and spent some time in a nice hotel, and then see nice sights or yeah, experience the local cuisine.
It's great. We have a comment from Bong Su,
yeah. I
our
just
local celebrity in Montreal, saying, "Best to you, Alan, from a freelancer who
Ah,
understands."
oh.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of
yeah.
us are freelancers, and the waves, the highs and lows. I guess it's this common experience that really brings us together and allows us to understand each other and to be supportive of each other in this language community that we have, online and offline. I think.
And even as event organizers, even though we all have jobs on the side,
Mhm.
it's being a freelancer on the side,
That's right.
organizing an event throughout the year, and you also have your highs and lows, and it's often you know you have to plan for your own time, and you have to have to be in charge. That's an interesting experience.
That's
Although
right.
I love having my own thing, like it's so nice to yeah, pick out the clients you want to work with, build good relationships with them, like be the boss of your own time as well, developing yourself because like in the end you have to do your own marketing, your own finance stuff. You have to do everything, which is a great learning experience, and I think
Mhm.
you can grow so fast through that.
Yeah,
Well, if you're a
yeah.
very if you if you're good at taking initiative and picking up challenges, then yeah, I'm sure you can enjoy it. I mean, there are people who like structure and who like um, who doesn't like the unknown, and so there are people who are
Yeah.
made to be entrepreneurs, I guess, and there are others who are made to work in a more structured environment.
I guess some people like to be in charge of their time, but in some cases, it's your time that becomes in charge of you, if you will. You know, it's. I think I've heard from a lot of people that especially I guess if you're relatively well, it's easy to get caught in a never-ending process of never-ending work. That's I guess the other aspect is that you're the boss, but some people also have problems saying no. So that's the way sometimes it's double edged, right?
It is.
Mhm. I've always also been that kind of person that just takes on every opportunity that gets thrown at me, but now I've just really learned that I have to focus on a couple of things, like in the best scenario, just one thing, of course, in order to have great success in what I do. So now I'm also really careful to saying when I say yes to stuff, or just say yeah. I actually don't have time, but if you pay me lots, then I'll do it.
But it's great that you pick these things up the learning. A lot of these things that are being talked about in management courses about time management, prioritization and all that. You're doing it like you're picking it up on the job and learning very quickly, because survival is, you know, survival of the fittest. You're definitely living it. Um, Myself and Nicola and Joey, we have a day job, which is not related to languages. That sort of gives us the security, but on the side we do this thing called LangFest, which is really on our own, and we've burned ourselves sometimes. We've done better other times. But this is fun. This is a lot of, it's the adventure part of our lives. I guess we're not as much, we're not living on the edge as much as you guys who are really living on the edge, I guess. But we get to have a taste of it through events like LangFest.
Certainly.
All right, and we have other people joining. We have our very good friend Chuck.
Chuck is watching. Hi, Chuck. So I imagine he's saying hi behind his screen. And so I guess this is coming to an end because time's almost up. But maybe you can just tell us a little bit about, apart from the translation, finishing your degree. Do you have any and the summit that we'll have the chance to talk about again? Do you have any other projects, or is that already filling up your time?
Or the future, as Joey's not here with us today, but he always wants to take the closing to what's next for our special guest.
That's what I want to ask. Joey asks his batters, but that's what I want to ask. Yes.
Well, so I just started building my company, so I guess that will take some. So that's for the future. But I also love to do more public speaking. I really love sharing my ideas with people, having great discussions. So that's...
You like public speaking? Well, that's good news for LangFest.
Yes. Yes, and that's the thing. I think we would very much love to see you on this side of the Atlantic, because you've been to Polyglot Gathering, you've been to Polyglot Conference. If you want to give Montreal a try these days.
Yeah, you could start your Trans America. What trans? I don't know if you call it trans. If you go from Montreal all the way down to Chile or something.
No, but what people do is, and what people compare to going through Siberia is going through Canada. East-west from you can go from coast to coast.
There's not quite as many change of scenery when you go from.
That is
but
true.
if you go north-south, there's a lot more change of scenery, change of languages.
But I don't think you can do it as easily north-south as you can do it in Canada. So it's
you could go towards the west and then go down Central America, or you could go to the tip of Miami and then swim across to Cuba and swim down. There's various ways to do it, I think, when there's different degrees of risks.
Very different, yes.
But I do have friends, who've come up from, like Ecuador, through Central America and Mexico, and then, just hitchhiking or bus or train and come all the way back up to Montreal. So it is doable.
But one Trastevere is enough.
So you could just do Montreal. There's already lots to do. So that's already first step. Have you ever been to Canada or even North America before?
I have been to Canada for like 1 hour. I was visiting friends in Buffalo.
Okay.
And I walked over the bridge at Niagara Falls. And
okay.
Canadian side, and then I went back. So.
well.
I mean, it was during Christmas. So nice.
Well, you have a very good reason to come and see Montreal in 2019 now. So.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, so we will have to wrap pretty soon. In fact, now we do wish all our audience a fantastic weekend as usual, and we'll have to see everybody next week, same time, same hour.
Who's next week?
Who's next week, Nicola? I don't know.
Don't remember.
We're doing this on the fly quite a bit.
The schedule is shifting, yes. So
it will be announced right after in a few days.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Take care now.
Thank you,
Bye.
Val.